So a lot of people have asked me if I am reading the current run of Thor by Donny Cates. And the answer is yes, I'm reading it, but I'm also loving it. It is really, really well done. Issue number 1 was filled with some unexpected things. If you haven't read it, you have to read it. There are at least 2 unexpected moments that are happening in this run of Thor in issue number 1 that were mind-blowing kind of stuff. And the action actually continued in issue number 2 as well. But here's the thing. Donnie is doing a really good job with this story for several different reasons. He is making Thor interesting, he's making Thor compelling, but he's also telling a new story that is very much rooted in history. And this is actually something that I enjoy that Jonathan Hickman is doing with the current run of X-Men. He's telling a new story, but he's doing it in such a way that it actually harkens back to the past. Now, what's great about what Donny Cates is doing is that he is telling a new story rooted in an old story that I don't think a whole lot of people know about. At least it's my understanding that a lot of people don't know about it. Ultimately, you guys will be the judge. But in the course of reading the current Thor, I started to ask myself some questions. I started to do a little bit of research, and I've identified a book that I think is a really good read, but also potentially an undervalued key. How undervalued, how big of a key, I honestly don't know. But if you are curious in learning more, stay tuned for the video. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I definitely want to encourage you to hit the subscription button, turn on notifications so that you can stay abreast of all the content that I release on a weekly basis. Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. In this video, I am going to spend some time talking about an undervalued key. Now, how big of an undervalued key this is ultimately will be determined by you guys. I think it's a cool book, and I want to share it with you and also talk just a little bit about the story. Now, this is a book that I just recently discovered myself, and you might be asking, well, how recent? Like a week and a half ago. So recent, in fact, that I just bought copies of it. And so we are actually going to unbox these books first, and then we'll talk a little bit about them. And I actually picked up, and for the sake of transparency, I think I picked up 4 copies of this. And I'll explain why I picked up 4 copies at some point, maybe not in this video, but I will definitely reveal it to you. I will tell you that most of these books will be staying in my personal collection just because I think that they're really cool pieces of history. So let me open this one up. And there's a couple of versions that I purchased, and I think at least 2 versions are here. So I'll be able to speak to that just a little bit. And again, that'll kind of explain why I bought so many copies. And I was able to find these books on eBay relatively easily and relatively inexpensively as well. So cut away this painter's tape here. Not even painter's tape, sorry, this Scotch tape. Get this off this book. All right, so we're getting our first look at it, and this is actually a pretty nice copy. Couple of maybe one color breaking spine tick. I'll take it out and look at it a little bit closer. But what makes this book really cool, and I'm gonna open up the second one here, is this is actually a Jack Kirby book. It is my understanding that Jack Kirby actually did the artwork for this particular comic. He did not do the cover art. That was actually done by Bob Layton, but he actually, Kirby that is, did do the interior panels. And again, this is one of those books that I don't think people pay a lot of attention to. Kind of flew under the radar. And so, yep, that is what I thought it would be. Very nice, very nice. But it is also a Stan Lee story a Jack Kirby interior artwork book, and the cover was done by Bob Layton, as I mentioned already. This is a really cool book for lots of different reasons, some of which I've already mentioned. Some of the other things are that a lot of people are getting priced out of Fantastic Four, 48, 49, and 50, right? Those books are extremely popular, also really, really pricey. But what I really like about this book is that it is very much a core and a foundational book that is also not expensive at all. And so without any further ado, because I know you guys have been waiting, the book that I'm talking about is one that you've probably never heard of. The title, that is, Super Villain Classics. Super Villain Classics, #1, the Galactus. Galactus, The Origin is the book. This is the book that I think is an undervalued key. And again, from the title of this book, you kind of sort of already know what this particular book is about. So this is the regular cover, and then there is also, I think it's like the direct, and then here is a newsstand as well. And I want to say that there's a Canadian price variant that I think I ordered, but I could be wrong about that. But I have at least those 2 copies, and like I said, there are 2 more copies coming. Now, what's really great about this particular book, again, is that Donny Cates is actually tying what he is doing with Thor back to this particular book, that being the origin of Galactus. If you read the current run of Thor, you know that Galactus was actually a survivor of the Black Winter. And when you read this book right here, Galactus, The Origin, it actually talks about the Black Winter. And it's actually Galen at the time was the last survivor of his entire world, which is known as Ta. I think that's how you say it, T-A-A, Ta. The last survivor of that particular planet, which was being affected, not just that planet, but I think also the galaxy or the universe was being affected by the Black Winter. And so Galactus, or Galen at the time, was an observer of what was basically killing the universe. And they were watching, his planet was watching as other worlds were basically dying. And then his world began to be affected by the Black Winter as well. So he and a couple of other astronauts escaped, and they were basically going to meet their end in space because they were explorers. And as the radiation and other things kind of happened and bombarded their spaceship, Galen basically merged with the universe. He merged with the universe and was reborn as Galactus. And so he is a survivor of the Black Winter. And the Black Winter is exactly what is talked about in the current run of Thor. And it's this whole thing about what is the Black Winter, how can they survive. Galactus / Galen survived the Black Winter one time before, so maybe he can survive it again. And so it is a really, really wonderful piece of history that I don't know if it's on people's radar. And so again, I became aware of this book, definitely wanted to pass it on. I think it's a really, really cool piece of history, really cool book. The Bob Layton cover is solid, but to be honest with you, even better is the interior artwork. It is very clear that Jack Kirby worked on this particular comic. When you look at the interior panels, all that comes to mind is things like the Eternals and Machine Man and New Gods. When you see his pencil work, it is very, very clear that this is a Jack Kirby piece of art. And so I thoroughly enjoyed that part of it because I'm a huge fan of Jack Kirby's artwork, his style. It took me a lot of time to adjust to his particular style, but I absolutely enjoy it. And so this is a book that I wanted to put on your radar. Should you go out and buy this book? I honestly don't know. I think that you should think about it. You should do your own research. You should definitely maybe read it online and see if it's something that you actually want to add to your collection. Because again, I don't know whether this book has any long-term value or any kind of potential with anything that's going to happen in the MCU. I honestly do not know. But it's a cool book. It's a cool read. Some fantastic artwork. and ties to some current stuff that is happening right now. So with that said, I am going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, I want to encourage you to leave a comment behind, hit the thumbs up button. And if you need to, reach out to me directly. And you can do so on Instagram at Regie Collects, or you can send me an email to reggie@regiecollects.com. Take care.